Good afternoon, race fans. Welcome to round number 11 of the 2022 NASCAR Pinty Series, the General Tire 125. We're at Circuit ICAR in Mirabel, Quebec for the 70-lap road race. Qualifying today was washed out. They lined up the grid based on the NASCAR rule book, which mostly is lined up by the point standing. So before we introduce you to the starting lineup, let's in fact have a look at the point standings coming into this event. Round 11 of 13, so there are 3 races left. There has been a lot of changes. After appeal, Marc-Antoine Cameron and his team appealed a 12-point penalty by NASCAR. So did Alex Tagliani. Both of those appeals were, well, how do you say it? They won their appeals. So Marc-Antoine Cameron, we thought would be tied with DJ Kennington coming into today's race, instead has a 12-point advantage over the veteran, and now Alex Tagliani creeps up into the picture. And the way the schedule's worked out this year, we've got 2 road courses and then Delaware Speedway in September to settle things. So it really favors Alex Tagliani, Marc-Antoine Cameron, and some of the road course aces, but DJ Kennington, he's pretty good everywhere we go. So is Trayton Lapsevich, Kevin Lacroix, so I think they're going to be just fine, and it's going to be an exciting battle all the way to the end. 23 cars scheduled to start here this afternoon, so let's take you through this starting lineup, starting at the back. Driver from Laval, Quebec, behind the wheel of the General Tire Valeria Air Show ICAR Dodge number 03, it's Justin Arsenault. Starting 22nd, fresh off a top 10 finish last night in Daytona. Flew up here this morning. He knew he wasn't going to make qualifying, so he expected to start at the back, but the way they had to line things up anyhow, he's definitely at the back. Starting 22nd from Victoriaville, Quebec, the Prolon Controls Dodge. Number 07 is Alex Labbé. Starting 21st, after a tough introduction to the NASCAR Pinty Series at GP3R, he found the inside wall, found the concrete going into turn number 1, but they've made repairs, and he is back. From Blainville, Quebec, the Excellence Dodge Chrysler Aviation SB Dodge number 55 of Serge Bordeaux. Starting 20th, from Blainville, Quebec, the Duro King Petro Belanger Alberville Dodge number 12, it's Matthew Kingsbury. Starting 19th from Terrebonne, Quebec, the Motos Illimité DLGL Ford number 39, recent winner, first-time winner on the series at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, Alex Gannett. This is the home track, in fact, for Alex Gannett. He'll roll off 19th. Starting 18th from Boisbriand, Quebec, the Kamloops GL Electricité Automatisation Chevrolet number 13 of LP Montour. Starting 17th from Toronto, Ontario, the Curb Records AER Dark Horse Polysleep Chevrolet number 98, it's Sam Fellows. Starting 16th from Oakville, Ontario, the O'Neill Electric Supply ABB Milwaukee Tools Dodge number 84, Action Larry Jackson. Starting 15th from Ohsweken, Ontario, the GSR Glenn Stires Racing Ohsweken Speedway Chevrolet number 0, the Ohsweken Flyer Glenn Stires. Starting 14th from Kahnawake, Quebec, the K Fiber Optic Bullies Truck Stop Chevrolet number 66 is Wallace Stacy. And to his inside, his son from Kahnawake, Quebec, the Bullies Truck Stop K Fiber Optic Chevrolet number 92, Dexter Stacy. Starting 12th from Saint-Donat to Montcalm, Quebec, the Prolon Controls Russo Metals Ford number 1 of J.P. Bergeron. Starting 11th as we go through some of the pre-race festivities that are happening live here. So doing things in a bit of a different order as we wait for things to get underway. But rolling off 11th, the veteran from Barrie, Ontario, the Leland IHL Group Chevrolet, number 64, it's Mark Dilly. Rolling off in the top 10, starting 10th from Montreal, Quebec, the RJ Investissement, 7 Cents Moana Chevrolet, number 8, Ray Jr. Cordemanche. Starting 9th from Halton Hills, Ontario, the New Tech Wood Dodge, number 59, it's Gary Clute. Starting 8th from Stayner, Ontario, the GMS Sheer Metal Products APC WMI Chevrolet, number 9, Brandon Watson. Starting 7th from Trois-Rivières, Quebec, the WeatherTech Belle-Mère Dodge, number 47 of Louis-Philippe Dumoulin, defending series champion LP Dumoulin. Starting 6th from Roxton Pond, Quebec, the GM Paillet Chevrolet Canada Chevrolet, the number 27 is Andrew Ranger. Starting 5th from Saint-Eustache, Quebec, the Napa Pièce d'Auto Valvoline Lacroix Tuning Dodge, number 74 is Kevin Lacroix. Here's an interesting fact about row 3. Kevin Lacroix and Andrew Ranger starting side by side. The first year we visited Circuit ICAR was 2011. That race was run in the rain. It was won by Robin Buck. Since then, we have raced here every year with the exception of 2020, and it's been either Andrew Ranger or Kevin Lacroix taking victory. Only those two drivers have won this event. In the early years, it was Andrew Ranger dominating, and then Kevin Lacroix became unbeatable. So in 2012, it was Ranger. 2013, 2014, all Ranger. Kevin Lacroix took the win in 2015. Andrew Ranger won it again in 16. And then in 2017, Lacroix won again. Took a couple of years off from visiting Circuit ICAR, and in 2021, once again, it was Kevin Lacroix in victory lane. So row number 3 has a very good chance of producing today's winner, either Andrew Ranger or Kevin Lacroix. To row 2, from Grimsby, Ontario, the FBM RGC Sports Quick Chevrolet number 20, it's Trayton Lapsevich. Starting 3rd, from Lachenay, Quebec, the Viagra St. Hubert Quick NTN Chevrolet number 18, Alex Tagliani. Beautiful looking race car. Not a lot of room for any more partners on there for Alex Tagliani, a seasoned veteran of the sport these days. To the front row we go on the outside of row number 1 from St. Thomas, Ontario, the Castrol Edge, Cathcart Trucking, CIM Metals Dodge number 17, DJ Kennington. And the pole sitter, also our points leader with a 12-point advantage coming into today, from St. Leonard d'Aston, Quebec, the GM Paillet Chevrolet Canada, number 96, Marc-Antoine Camarant. So Marc-Antoine Camarant going to go from the point. Had a solid race. Our last race, we made a little bit of history with the NASCAR Pinty Series, running our very first dirt event, the Pinty's 100, at Schweeken Speedway. By most accounts, it was a huge success, a phenomenal crowd, and Marc-Antoine Camarant did himself proud. He had a solid run there and was able to maintain his position in the points. Then once his appeal was held up, now he is launched ahead of DJ Kennington, a 12-point advantage which can disappear in a big hurry. But one of the advantages of the race being lined up by the NASCAR rulebook, it puts the points leader on the pole. And remember, there's a bonus point for leading a lap. There's a bonus point for leading the most laps. So it'll be very important for both of these drivers to try to get the advantage early on and jump out into the lead as you hear the national anthem being played. All the teams standing at attention on what is a tight pit road here at Circuit ICAR, and made even more challenging with a 90-degree bend halfway down, but this 70-lap race is a sprint, folks. If you have to come into the pits, you're in trouble anyhow. So we don't worry too much about mass pit stops. We will have cars come down. This track is very difficult on brakes, very hard on equipment. It is a series of hairpin turns. It's kind of a road course that races very much like a short track. Drivers staged on the front straightaway. We can see the NASCAR officials in place, and it looks like things are ready. And we will go very quickly to the command, the most famous words in motorsports. Mike Charret, the series flagman, is up in the flag stand. So we are ready to get things rolling. As with all of our events when we come to Quebec, we've done bilingual calls where a little bit of French, a little bit of English. We have done two separate calls where we speak in English and we speak in French. Today, two separate broadcasts it is. So the fans in attendance will hear the race called in French. And you're going to hear my voice through the entire broadcast in English as we await the words we've been waiting for the General Tire 125. The field roars to life. And soon they'll be led away by NASCAR official, pace vehicle driver, Mike Hennig. He's been doing that job for a long time. It'll be 2 pace laps before we get things underway for 70 laps. This racetrack is an airport circuit, so we run on road courses like Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We run on street circuits like the Toronto Indy and GP3R. We also run on airport circuits, so this track is flat as a pancake. We see Tony Spiteri down there on pit road, leading a number of guests up pit lane. Recently named the general manager of NASCAR Canada, so it's a newly formed role, and people are pretty excited to see what direction Tony Spiteri can take this bunch in. But Circuit ICAR is flat. Heavy braking zones. The only thing that creates some blind turns are the barriers that they have to race around. Basically the inside wall on some of the corners here creates some blind spots, but these teams have spotters. For some of the drivers like Glenn Stiers in the 0, Wallace Stacy in the 66, JP Bergeron in the number 1, their first outing here at Circuit ICAR. Very limited practice. They had a bit of a shakedown session this afternoon, but no traditional qualifying. So problem for the JP Bergeron number 1 as the cars are splitting him. Staying up with the pace car, so we'll see if Bergeron needs a push. They had some challenges testing at Ashwaubenon, which would have been a completely different race car, I think. I can't imagine they would have converted a road course car to battle at Ashwaubenon, but the reason I'm not sure is because a lot of teams did some curious things there at the Big O. Cars that they didn't want to take a primary oval track car. They were worried about damage that might be done. As it turns out, probably the least challenging event in the history of the series on equipment. The track was smooth, not a lot of contact, with the exception of JP Bergeron. It was mixed up in a problem, and now we see the field scrubbing their tires. behind the pace vehicle. They've got 2 laps to try to scuff these tires in, build as much heat as they can into the general tires. These cars are a handful. They're a heavy stock car with a lot of horsepower. In this track, we're going to see one of the hairpins they're going to navigate here today. It is heavy, heavy braking in a lot of areas. So you want to make sure you've got your brakes heated up, you've got your tires heated up, because they've got to perform for you from the drop of the green flag. The field is so talented and so deep, you can't afford to give anything away. We'll look back all the way through the top 10 and see cars that are going to come up and challenge for podium results. LP Dumoulin deep in the top 10 in the 47. Gary Clute in the 59, a gifted road course racer from Southern Ontario. So a lot of drivers going to have to be up on the wheel. Of course, with the championship standings winding down, these drivers would have hoped to get out there for qualifying, because you've got to try to find an advantage to leapfrog whoever's in front of you in points. So when they line up the field by the rule book, it doesn't give you any opportunity to get ahead of somebody based on qualifying. So you've got to get up there. Every car in front of you is someone who is already ahead of you in the point standings. You can see the rubber on those inside rumble strips, so obviously a lot of cars have been diamonding up while cutting off that corner as much as they can. This is a bit of a short straightaway. These cars will run down. So turn 1 is a left-hand hairpin. Turn 2 is basically 90 degrees. And it's a fairly wide exit, but they'll come off and use all of that exit area. Come down under the General Tire bridge. And then have a look at this. Heavy, heavy braking for this left-hand turn, which is basically a hairpin corner. It's not a smooth hairpin. It's got a couple of transitions in it, but with that level of braking, great opportunity for these teams to pass. Pace car is off the racetrack. The General Tire 125, sorry, the first pace car is off the racetrack. The General Tire 125 about to get started because the official pace car has the lights out. That means Mike Henning about to peel off and leave the field in control of Marc-Antoine Camirand at the 96, DJ Kennington in the 17. Wow, Cameron took off and then slowed down. You can see it caused havoc for Alec Tagliani, but still Cameron with the advantage. Tagliani trying to pull into the second spot. He's on the outside as they work to turn number 2, but you can see DJ Kennington backed off to give him a chance. We've got a bit of a curious delay in our different camera views. I have a feeling once we get to this camera shot, we're going to see Andrew Ranger in the 27 make a bold move to the inside. Cameron, Tagliani, there's Ranger on the inside. Looking to make it 3 wide. He thinks better. That's DJ Kennington and Kevin Lacroix just ahead. Lacroix with track position on Kennington. He'll make a move to the inside of the Castrol's Edge 17. Andrew Ranger, a low percentage move there. Ranger tried to follow him through, but it puts him in a bad position for the next corner. Kevin Lacroix is on the charge, however, trying to get up there and contend. Lacroix loves to be the rabbit. He wants to be out in front of this race. Marc-Antoine Camirand continuing to lead the way in the GM Paillet 96, which really has been his calling card this year. He has led a lot of laps, gotten himself out in front. Sometimes he's been able to stay there, not every time, but look at the speed being shown by Kevin Lacroix and Andrew Ranger. They know how vital it is to get out front of this one. 70 laps the distance, but they'd rather it be 70 laps running 1-2 than back there in 5th and 6th where they started this race. And again, like we say, Marc-Antoine Cameron's got the bonus point for leading a lap. They want to prevent him from getting more bonus points for leading the most lap. So they're going to get up there and challenge as soon as they can. But right now it is all Quebec in the top 4. Cameron, Lacroix, Ranger, Tagliani, and then we've got DJ Kennington, the sole Ontario representative in the top 5. Right behind him, it's LP Dumoulin in the 47 machine, Gary Kloot in the 59, Trayton Lapsevich in the 20. So things shaking down as we would have expected. For some reason here at ICAR, there is always a pace setter. It's always a car that gets out in front, and there's generally a chase pack. Right now, Cameron, the driver, out in front, but I think the chase pack is not content staying with a gap behind the leader, so they are closing that gap. Kevin Lacroix has distanced himself from Ranger and Tagliani in trying to close in on race leader Marc-Antoine Cameron. Talk about some drivers on the move. Ray Jr. Cordemanche in that number 8. He's fallen back about half a dozen positions from the start of the race. Conversely, Alex Labbé in the 07 today, he has gained about half a dozen spots. Alex Labbé, in fact, was a virtual unknown when the series ran here, and I believe it was back in 2011, the race that Robin Buck won. It was lined up by points that day. He had to start at the back, and he tore through the field to a top 5 finish. It was an impressive run for sure for Alex Labbé. All these years later, now he's down competing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but great to have him back. And we are soon going to have a battle for the lead as Kevin Lacroix closing in on Cameron. So you can see, even though the track, the rumble strips on the inside are further in, these cars are so heavy in the racing line, they'll apex right down into the entry of that corner, then let the cars drift up a little bit on exit. So you've got the shape of the racetrack is not entirely like the line they used to drive it, as we're looking at Andrew Ranger in the 27. Alex Tagliani keeping pace. In fact, Tagliani with a look to the inside as Kevin Lacroix trying to close in on Cameron. A quick right-left combination, then they cross the start-finish line. It'll be down to turn number 1, that tight hairpin with heavy braking. Tag working the inside of Andrew Ranger in that 27 machine. He will clear the Ranger 27, so Ranger had driven up and made that pass. Now he'll lose the position. See if Tagliani is able to pull away and close in on Cameron and Lacroix out in front. As the field is strung out back through the top 20, we're watching Larry Jackson in that O'Neill Electric number 84 out in front. Cameron has company. You can even see in that one shot, Cameron, he has such amazing car control, but he's a wild driver. Like, he will drift that car. He uses all of the runoff. We saw the Kevin Lacroix number 74. Kevin Lacroix points his car and runs a bit of a tighter line. It doesn't use up as much of the racetrack. They're both fantastic drivers and get fantastic results. It's just two different ways to accomplish the same thing. But Lacroix is on the move, and he will not settle for running in second. Sam Fellows on the move forward in that 98 machine. Whoa, somebody overcooked it. That's Justin Arsenault in the 03. Gets a little bit hot into the corner. Doesn't look like he lost any positions, but lost a bunch of track position. Lacroix has a sniff to the inside, down into this hairpin turn. He will clear the 96 of Cameron. Cameron tries to cross him back over, but I don't believe he'll be able to do it. So Kevin Lacroix now out in front. Marc-Antoine Cameron runs second. Now he'll be able to size up Kevin Lacroix in that 74. Let's see if Cameron can keep pace with the race leader. Now he gets to see exactly the line that Lacroix runs, exactly his braking points. So sometimes when you make a pass like this, you actually show your hand and show some tips to a driver who had been out in front. but Lacroix looks like he might have the speed to drive away as he's immediately put a couple of car lengths on the 96 at Cameron. Back in the third spot, Alex Tagliani is pulled away from Andrew Ranger. DJ Kennington, however, is keeping pace with Ranger. So is the 47 of LP Dumoulin. So in the early stages of this one, we're about to have 10 laps complete of the scheduled 70-lap distance. And you watch there something fascinating about DJ Kennington. He didn't use any of the runoff area at all on the exit of that corner. In fact, he keeps his car quite tight to the inside, so it sets him up beautifully for the next turn. Various different ways to accomplish the same thing. Just behind this battle of Ranger, Kennington, Dumoulin, we've got Gary Kloot, Drayton Lapcevich, Alex Gannett is on the move forward. Remember, he's racing with a lot of confidence, just coming off of that win at GP3R, and probably the most fit of all of our competitors in the NASCAR Pinty Series. Alex Gannett is an elite athlete. He's putting the pressure on Drayton Lapcevich as he gets a little bit loose. You saw him have to turn that steering wheel hard right on corner exit, but he's got a lot of speed in that Moto Z Limited 39. Turn number one, that hairpin, is sort of the opposite of turn three. They actually kind of late apex turn one, where in turn three it's an early apex. Turn two, forget about the apex. They just run all the way down to the inside wall. Here in turn number three, they're going to crank hard left, and Alex Gannett making a move on Lapcevich. Early apex and let the car run up the racetrack. Gannett will make that pass, take over that position number 8. And Drayton Lapcevich back to 9th. And I think of all drivers, Drayton Lapcevich in the 20, the 9 of Brandon Watson, they're probably going to spend the first 20 to 30 laps learning. What's the car going to do? How is it going to change over the course of this race? What do we need to prepare for? Once it's time to make a charge, I think you'll see those drivers able to get up on the wheel and get after a couple of spots. We talked about Gannett's physical fitness. Really, most of these drivers are in top physical shape. A little further back, we look at Sam Fellows in that 98 machine. He runs right behind Alex LeBay, who is in behind Dexter Stacy. LP Montour right there as well. So is the 03 of Justin Arsenault. And we got a quick look there of Matthew Kingsbury in that beautiful number 12. So our last race at Ohsweken Speedway, 23 cars of the 24 cars that started finished the race. They were all on the lead lap. And problem, we got someone off the pace getting way out of the way. I believe that's the 55 of Serge Bordeaux. I'd like to see it and get confirmation of that, but I'm pretty sure that was the 55. He had troubles at Trois Rivières, got into the concrete on the front straightaway. Still left that event with all sorts of confidence and optimism. He really had a blast behind the wheel, but it doesn't look like things are going his way as Dexter Stacy is trying to hold off Alex LeBay. Wow! LeBay sent it down into the turn. He'll make the pass on Stacy, leave him some room on corner exit, but then clear that pass as they head down across the start-finish line. Alex LeBay looking to the top 10. That 07 car was driven by Jacques Villeneuve at GP3R, but they did not make the green flag. They had trouble getting the car started on the grid. They weren't able to make repairs, so Jacques Villeneuve, it was a big story that he was there, not able to compete that day as we look at DJ Kennington and LP Dumoulin. A healthy handful of series championships between those two drivers. Dumoulin took a bit of an earlier entrance down into turn one. Kennington took the more traditional late apex and actually sent him off the turn with a better angle to turn number 2. They use all of the racetrack right out to the Armco barrier on the exit of turn number 2, then heavy braking down into turn 3. An awkward looking hairpin. This is a typical DJ Kennington and LP Dumoulin race. They don't push it in the early going. You really never know what either of these drivers have until you get well into the race. So the battle is for the 5th position. Truthfully, at this point, I believe both of these drivers just wanted to make sure that the leaders don't get so far out in front that they can't track them down later on, but also managing their brakes, managing their tires. The points and the money aren't on the line until 70 laps into this one. We look back to Gary Clute in the 59 machine. He's under attack from Alex Gannett. Gannett's been picking him off one car every couple of laps and able to pull away. Well, every time he makes a pass, he's able to drive away. He's closed in on the back end of Gary Clute, and timing might be good for a big aggressive dive down into turn number 1. No, not close enough to the 59 to make that move, although he closes a lot of ground down into the first turn. He'll stay up on the back bumper as they work towards turn 2. Still not going to be able to make a move, but is he setting himself up for turn number 3? No, Gary Clute is really getting off the corner nicely in the 59. He's losing ground going in, but he's making it right back up on corner exit. We have a look at JP Bergeron quickly there in the 1 after, actually that might have been LP Dumoulin we saw. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Alex Labbe has gotten around Brandon Watson and Trayton Lapcevich. Now both of those drivers, Lapcevich and Watson, will go to school for as long as they can. Learn what Alex Labbe is doing behind the wheel of the 07. Alex Labbe, one of the best stock car racers in the world on a road course. He's showing that today, working his way through the field here in the General Tire 125. Marc-Antoine Cameron is keeping Kevin Lacroix in his sights. Look at this battle. Sam Fellows, Dexter Stacey, Justin Arsenault, LP Montour. You'd think it was the last lap as they're duking for position out here. Fellows out ahead. I'll tell you, if you want to be entertained, watch Dexter Stacey. He runs every lap of a race as though it's the last, and he gets the most out of that race car. A little bit of rubbing with Justin Arsenault. Arsenault will squirt by for that position. Dexter Stacey losing a couple of spots there in that exchange. He may lose another with LP Montour hot on his heels off of turn number 1 down towards turn 2. Of course, Justin Arsenault, the Arsenault family owns this venue. Older brother Ely Arsenault used to compete here. As we look at Gary Clute, has a problem in the 59. Clute off the pace, off the inside of the racetrack. There is really not an adequate runoff, but now it looks like the car might be accelerating again. It is very tough to get out of the way here at ICAR because it's basically a confined course on an airport with Armco barriers all the way around. So back on track, but I wouldn't say up to speed as the 59 of Clute. Now that Alex Labbe has gotten around Lapcevich, Lapcevich is almost keeping pace. He's not quite keeping Labbe right off of his front bumper, but he's definitely picked up the wick just a little bit as we look at Kevin Lacroix closing in. On some slower traffic, Marc-Antoine Cameron continuing to run close to our race leader as Lacroix goes around Larry Jackson. That beautiful Napa Auto Parts paint scheme number 74. Partway through the season, they made that change. So Lacroix has pulled away a little bit from Cameron, but they're still in the same neighborhood of the racetrack as Lacroix works down into turn number 1. He'll go to the inside of Gary Klutz, number 59. So can't really speculate what might be wrong with Gary Klutz. I wonder if maybe he's only got 1 or 2 gears in that 59 because he's able to drive just not up to speed. We'll see if we can get a report on that race car. As Klutz staying well out of the way of the competition. Every point is valuable, so he's got to stay out on the racetrack as long as he can. But it's very frustrating for a driver to be off the pace. LP Dumoulin has gotten around DJ Kennington. Alex Gannett continues to set great laps out there in the 39, but not as great as his good buddy Alex LeBay in the 07 as LeBay goes by. Alex LeBay is really flirting with a fine line. You've got to conserve a little bit of equipment, but you've also got to be on the pedal and get to the front as fast as you can. Well, get to the front, not as fast as you can, but you got 70 laps to do it, and you still need a little bit of race car left. Contend with these front runners, Kevin Lacroix, Marc-Antoine Cameron, fierce competitors. And of course, the farther you get to the front, the harder they are to pass. There we have a quick look at JP Bergeron. He is about to go a lap down. As Kevin Lacroix is closing in on that pack of traffic. We mentioned this road course races like a short track, and part of the story is there's shorter lap times. It's not a terribly long racetrack, so we get into lap traffic a little bit sooner. As fast as Alex Gannett is, he's trying to pick up a thing or two from Alex LeBay, who's gone by. The 07 prepared out of the Dumoulin competition stable, so a quality race car. Basically a teammate this week to LP Dumoulin, the WeatherTech 47. Oh, and Sam Fellows comes to a stop at the exit of turn number 1. We are under our first yellow flag of the day. That Curb Records Poly Sleep number 98. Sam Fellows quietly been having a great season behind the wheel. He's been easy on equipment. But there is no life to that 98 of Sam Fellows, and he will wait for a push truck to come to his rescue. And he's in the worst spot there is to have a problem. He's right at the exit of pit road. You see the pace vehicle coming on. So he'll have to be pushed all the way around, or they're going to come out with a flatbed and pick that car up. Let's have a look at the running order. Kevin Lacroix, the race leader. Obviously, the gap's back. I mean, he had built up a 40-second advantage over Matthew Kingsbury running in the 14th spot, the last car lead lap. But guess what? Matthew Kingsbury going to be able to close right in with all the other drivers on the lead lap. This will bunch the field up. So Kevin Lacroix, the race leader, Marc-Antoine Cameron, the 96. After starting on the pole and leading some laps, has fallen back to second. Alex Tagliani runs third in the 18. The 27 of Andrew Ranger is fourth. The 47 of LP Dumoulin is fifth. It's an all-Quebec top 5. Sixth place is DJ Kennington. Seventh is Alex LeBay. Eighth is Alex Gannett. Ninth is Trayton Lapsovich. 10th, we have Brandon Watson in the 9. 11th on back is Justin Arsenault, LP Montour, Dexter Stacey, and Matthew Kingsbury. Those are all of the drivers on the lead lap. What will happen now, because NASCAR goes back to the last completed lap to set the running order, Ray Quartermonch may get his lap back before we give the free pass when they go and make that adjustment, which would leave Larry Jackson the free pass recipient, but timing and scoring will be working on that. Passing the message up to Sharpie and Sherry Putnam. So here goes Quartermonch. If he stays behind the pace car, he's the free pass. If he goes around the pace car, that means that they went back to the last lap. He is what they call a trapped car. They'll let him around the pace car and catch up. So the fact that he went around tells me we'll probably see Larry Jackson in the O'Neill Electric 84 pull up to get between the pace car and Kevin Lacroix in the 74. Let's take a quick break while we're here under yellow. We'll be right back with more of the General Tire 125.
25 maybe.
The bad news is Sam Fellows is out of this race in the 98. The good news is whatever the mechanical gremlin is that caused this problem, they can rectify before he goes to his home race at CTMP. So you know Sam Fellows has high hopes for next week's event at the track formerly known as Mosport, now known as Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So Kevin Lacroix out in front of this one. I had heard rumblings that he was looking for a rain race. He wanted a wet racetrack out here, and it's kind of a sick fantasy. I can't imagine. I can see it being fun, but there are so many things that make it treacherous. Visibility for one, the fogging up of the windshield, but Kevin Lacroix has shown he's such a great addition to this racing series. Now a veteran NASCAR stock car racer, but he's basically embraced all challengers coming in, and he knows that the more rivalries they have, the better it is for the entertainment value, and boy oh boy, he is a pretty great benchmark for success. He can win on any given day. Sam Fellows watching as they hook up that 98 machine, and they'll get it up on the flat deck. I'm surprised the NASCAR safety truck isn't out there. That's who will be his ride back. He'll get checked over real quick and released. And an early exit here today from Circuit ICAR. You can see the rubber that gathers around the racetrack and comes off in chunks. Tell you what I'm interested in seeing is what will Alex Labbe and Alex Gannett be able to accomplish on this restart. They had been setting a torrid pace. In fact, let me see if I can look at fastest laps. The best lap time for Kevin Lacroix was a 46.552, and that was on lap 5. Okay, that's quite a bit faster than Alex Gannett, 47.3, or Alex Labbe, 47.3. Alex Gannett, 47.6. All of those fast laps were on lap 4 and 5. Drayton Lapcevich, once Labbe went by, turned his fastest lap on lap 20. So it's interesting how people learn from being around faster race cars. Lapcevich's fastest lap was on lap 20. Everybody else was well inside the first 15 laps or so. So we'll go further down the list of cars that are a lap down or more. Larry Jackson should get the free pass, the driver of the 84 machine. We see a little activity on pit road. Drivers a lap down include Mark Dilley back in 17th, Gary Clute in the 59. Bordeaux is 2 laps down in the 55. Wallace Stacy is 3 laps down. Glenn Stiers is 3 laps down. And of course, Sam Fellows and JP Bergeron having their troubles today. They're multiple laps down. This could be an opportunity, in fact, for Gary Clute to come to the pits if they're able to make some sort of repair on that 59 machine. If so, great that he's only a lap down. He can hope for another yellow, maybe another free pass, but we haven't got confirmation of what's gone wrong with the 59 of Gary Clute. Strange to see Larry Jackson still running 3rd on the racetrack. Normally they would move the free pass car, or at least move the lap down cars. So So obviously timing and scoring, trying to sort out what they need to do, as we see the Sam Fellows machine has been cleared from turn number 1. Now they'll make the long drive around the racetrack and bring it back to pit road. Spoke about the beautiful paint scheme on that 74 of Kevin Lacroix. Just looks great. That is a long-term partnership with Napa. And I think they've chosen a pretty impressive driver to hitch their wagon to. Continue under yellow. Okay, now the lap cars have moved to the back, so I'm surprised Larry Jackson, maybe Courtemanche did get the free pass, but an unusual yellow flag period, but it looks like the lap cars have moved to the back, so we may see the lights go out on the pace car this lap, indicating we're about to go back to green, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. Again, Marc-Antoine Cameron came into today with a 12-point advantage over DJ Kennington in the second spot in that number 17. So Kennington not getting what he wants right now. He'd love to get ahead of that 96, but he's hanging in there. He's having a DJ Kennington day, hanging in there around the top 5 as the lights have gone out on the pace car. Cameron trying to pull up alongside Kevin Lacroix. Lacroix still scrubbing those tires. I'm not sure whether the inside or the outside is advantageous going down into turn number 1. The fact that it's kind of a late apex corner tells me there might be some rubber here for Marc-Antoine Cameron to try to stay alongside Lacroix. Building up for this restart. Remember, 70 laps is the distance here in the General Tire 125, and Cameron tried to come down and close the door on Alex Tagliani, but that might have, well, obviously was a bit of a miscue there on the 96. DJ Kennington looking to the inside as well. That was a disaster restart for Marc-Antoine Cameron. Opportunity, however, for Tagliani and Andrew Ranger, who slams the door shut on LP Dumoulin and drives to the inside of Tagliani. My goodness, what a restart that was. Cameron gaining one of the spots back that he lost. He's still in the top 5. The move that Cameron made looked exactly like what Kevin Lacroix did successfully at Toronto a few races ago when he was able to take the lead by crossing over on a restart, but it just did not work for Cameron there as he's up on the back end of Alex Tagliani, keeping the pressure on that Viagra NTN bearing St. Hubert number 18. Out in front, it's Kevin Lacroix, with Andrew Ranger up in second. Cameron now to the inside of Alex Tagliani, trying to make that pass. He'll slide up across the nose of the 18 of Tagliani, so Cameron back up into the third spot. So a couple of GM Paillet sponsored entries trying to keep pace with the Napa Auto Parts 74 of Kevin Lacroix. Andrew Ranger in the 27 and Marc-Antoine Cameron in the 96 are teammates, but only in the sense that their two cars look the same. They are prepared in different shops, they're worked on by different people, they come to the track with different crews. And these drivers both race extremely hard for every position. But GM Paillet, boy oh boy did they burst onto the scene this season with a couple of race teams that can knock down wins and contend for titles. So Cameron, now he's out in front of Andrew Ranger. Looked like he was pulling away, and then Ranger drove it deep down into turn number 1, but Cameron definitely putting a couple of car lengths between himself and the number 27 back in third, but all of that battling allowed Kevin Lacroix to really get out in front and step away. Now we're seeing Alex Lebay in the 07, Alice Gannett in the 39. They're right up with the leaders, but they didn't make any moves there on that restart. As crazy as things got, of course, neither of these drivers are racing for points. And they won't care too much as Alice Gannett makes a move on Alex Lebay. Gannett looking racy, and he aggressively goes to the inside. Lebay in the 07. They don't care about the points, they don't care about the point standings, but they have enough respect for the series and for the sport that they're not going to ruin somebody else's day for their own success. Maybe if it comes down to a bump and run for the win, but I think they will stay mindful on a restart like that goes hairy. They show the respect these competitors deserve, and they'll be rewarded if they come along and they're quicker than somebody. I think these drivers will remember, hey, they could have caused me some issues earlier, they didn't, maybe I'll cut them some slack. But this is the NASCAR Pinty Series. That may not happen at all. To watch Lebay on the racetrack, he even looks fast in that 39. Making all the right moves, hitting all the right marks as he's back there behind LP Dumoulin in that 47. And his entry into turn number 1 is fascinating. He goes a little bit deeper than anybody else, drives the car deeper, but drives farther down the racetrack before he makes his arc through that hairpin. But it seems to be working for him, but we'll watch. Next time we see the 39 down into turn 1, watch how he turns into the apex of the turn. It's unique compared to the drivers around him. Keeping the pressure on LP Dumoulin. And of course, it goes without saying, although I said it. See that? He goes deeper down into the hairpin, but it's a nice arc and it keeps good momentum through turn number 1. So might be a little bit of a trick that Alex Gannett knows from his days. He's got a lot of laps here at ICAR. So does his sister. She's raced here competitively as well. Now he's all up in the business of LP Dumoulin. Dumoulin sort of losing track, a little bit of Tagliani ahead of him. There's a spot where Gannett made a move on Lebay. Wasn't able to do it, but he's drawn right up on the back end of the 47. DJ Kennington lost a spot to Trayton Lapsevich. So the Castrol Edge Dodge battling for a championship out here. DJ Kennington has been for a long time a big picture race car driver. You won't see many marks on that 17 machine, sometimes at the end of a race, because when it's on the line, he'll get more aggressive, but by and large, you won't see any marks on the 17 of DJ Kennington. So at first I thought it was a conscious decision of Alex Gannett to run that different line. Now I almost wonder if he might be having some brake fade in that 39, not able to cut down into the turns like he was. But now even earlier on, he was taking a bit of a later entry down into turn 1. But they're definitely losing ground to the 47 of LP Dumoulin. Would be a shame to see the march of Alex Lebay and Alice Gannett up through this field stop there without quite making it into the top 5. But there's still a lot of racing left to go. 31 laps to go. In fact, we're past the halfway point. The General Tire 125. The distance is 125 kilometers or 70 laps. So each lap around Circuit ICAR is less than 2 kilometers. That's pretty short for a road race. But the action is all right there in front of the fans. You saw in a few of the camera angles some unique vantage points for people to watch these races. They built a few grass embankments that people can relax on to catch the race. There's a go-kart track that's always running. There you see it right there, just off the inside of turn number 2. So a multi-use facility here. There's a drag strip. Don't know if we get to see part of the drag strip on this view. There it is off to the right. And of course, there's still an active airport. Alex Gannett with the 6th position, Alex LeBay. I don't think LeBay would care if he's running 6th or not. He just wants to get up there and keep that pack tight with the race leaders to be able to capitalize should something happen. We look back to Trayton Lapsevich in the 20. Right behind him is Justin Arsenault in the 03, a couple of youngsters. Both of these drivers are teenagers, but they know how to get around in a NASCAR stock car, particularly on this racetrack. There's nothing like the rumble of the horsepower that these cars make. Looks like Larry Jackson might have missed that turn just a little bit in the 84 machine. Now we're getting down to the point in the race where these drivers need to start to push. Under 30 laps to go, so well into the second half of this race. We often see a yellow flag near the end of these events, but you can't count on that. So drivers are really going to have to step it up. Out at the front, Kevin Lacroix has stepped away from Marc-Antoine Cameron. He's got an advantage of a few seconds on the racetrack. Further back, that battle for 4th, Alex Tagliani has the spot. LP Dumoulin right there on his back bumper. Dumoulin kind of late apexes that corner. He could be trying to set him up to get a run down into turn number 1. Let's see how he gets through these S's. Nope, nowhere near close enough to tag as Tag works down into the first turn. Tagliani could not keep that car on the bottom of the racetrack. He washed up on exit, and you could see LP Dumoulin close the gap on that number 18. In fact, I think Dumoulin might have just clipped that pylon on the entry of turn 2. Poor pylons. In motorsports, they get no love. We have a look at Kevin Lacroix out in front with a comfortable margin. More than 3 seconds, or probably 20 to 25 car lengths. Alex LeBay has gotten around Alex Gannett in the 39. Let's see if he can close in on the cars ahead of him, which would be LP Dumoulin in his battle with Alex Tagliani. So Alex LeBay right down on the red and white rumble strips at the entry of the corner, which is contrary to the line that Alex Gannett runs, a little bit higher. Everyone seems to really cut across the racetrack in turn 2 as we've got one off the pace. That is Mark Dilly in the 64. Don't know if he was just getting out of the way for the race leaders, but I wouldn't think he would get that far off the pace to let the leaders go by. We'll have to keep an eye on the 64 machine of Dilly to see if that might bring out another yellow flag. Mark Dilly makes the right-hand turn to head down pit lane, so not a good day for the Leland Industries IHL number 64. Whoa, Matthew Kingsbury overshoots turn number 1. That allows Dexter Stacey to close in. A beautiful Duro King number 12 of Matthew Kingsbury. Stacey to the inside. See if Kingsbury stays close enough to try to outbreak him down into turn number 3. They'll work down. He does, he keeps to the inside, but Stacey closes the door. Give Dexter Stacey that position as he puts a couple of car lengths between himself and the 12 of Kingsbury as they battle a little bit deeper in the top 20. Sorry, the top 15. The tail end of the car's on the lead lap. The always exciting Dexter Stacey, Matthew Kingsbury doing a nice job. Road courses are not his forte, but he's out here learning a lot, getting some great seat time as DJ Kennington continuing to hold off Brandon Watson in the number 9 and LP Montour in the 13. Every point is vital for DJ Kennington. He wants to stay ahead of all these cars. It's already looking like today could be a loss of points. To the points leader, Marc-Antoine Cameron, who is out ahead of that 17. Cameron running in the second spot, all by himself with a second advantage over his teammate, Andrew Ranger. A little bit of slower traffic for these leaders to contend with. Serge Bordeaux, I believe, in the number 55, getting out of the way, giving plenty of room for his competitors to get around. Justin Arsenault continues to run right behind Trayton Lapsevich, just a couple of car lengths between those two drivers. Justin Arsenault making his debut. Well, I'm gonna have to check my facts and make sure. I don't think he raced last season when we visited. But through the miracle of the internet, I don't think he did. Gaggle of cars down into this hairpin. Justin Arsenault taking advantage of some slower traffic to make a move on Trayton Lapsevich as they put another lap on Glenn Stiers. A bold move by the youngster Justin Arsenault. No, indeed, Arsenault did not race last season. Sometimes I spit stats out and then I think, was that right? And I lose all confidence. Trayton Lapsevich putting the pressure immediately back on. Justin Arsenault in that 0-3 machine. They work down into turn number 3. Lapsevich points that car towards the inside, puts his nose right on the back bumper of the 0-3 of Arsenault. I don't believe there was contact, but if Arsenault had bobbled, there would have been. Alex Lebay is closed in on LP Dumoulin and Alex Tagliani as they work down towards turn number 1. 4 drivers running nose to tail. All 4 drivers run a slightly different line through the first turn. Same with the second turn. Most often you see that there is one fast line around a racetrack, and that's what drivers do. Here we're seeing drivers sort of manipulate the line to what their car is doing. Tagliani taking a wider entry, a wider run through some of these tight turns. Whereas LP Dumoulin carving right down to the apex. Alex Lebay taking the shortest distance he can. As they accordion right now, they have all closed in and squeezed the gap on the 18 of Alex Tagliani. Down to turn number 1 they go. Tagliani struggled to keep the car down. This time, a better line for the Viagra number 18, but still LP Dumoulin exiting that turn with a bit more speed than his 18 counterpart. Oh, Glenn Stiers in that 0 machine with trouble on the racetrack. Once again, that's a tough spot. If he's still making forward bite in the 0, they'll be able to get out of the way, but I don't see as slow as he's going. He's not far from the pit entrance, but I'm not sure if that car is under power. As slow as it's going, I can't imagine he is. We go back to this battle. LP Dumoulin, Alex Lebay right behind him. Alex Tagliani just ahead indeed. We are under yellow. Well, that changes things. Stiers comes to rest there. Maybe 100 feet away from the entrance to pit road. But with no power in that Ohsweken Speedway, Glenn Stiers Racing number 0. Not able to make it. So with the yellow flag displayed by Mike Charret, 52 laps complete now as Kevin Lacroix crosses the stripe. 15 cars on the lead lap, about to, oh no, even if Larry Jackson gets the free pass, we'll see if Jackson is he's 1 lap down, so he'll get the free pass, get back on the lead lap. Of course, that's what I said in the last yellow as well. You look at those rumble strips down the inside, they get really aggressive, but nobody comes near them down there. So you kind of cut across as close as you can to them and then let the car drift up the racetrack as you complete that corner. Glenn Steyer is going to get a push back to the pits. They flew down this morning. Glenn Steyer's raced at his Ashwegan Speedway last night in a sprint car, as he does every Friday. Chartered a plane to take him and his crew down this morning to Mirabel, Quebec. And that's a great shot. You can see in the background, it's still an active facility. Flights coming and going. It was fascinating. A number of years ago, one of the first times that we came to this event, it was earlier in the season, and it's not passenger planes that fly into that airport, but the Formula One race was the following weekend in Montreal, and airplane had come in. I don't know what race team it was or how many race teams it was, but a bunch of their team equipment and race cars were being unloaded right next to us at the airport, next to where we were at the racetrack. And I can tell you, it got a lot of attention from people wanting to see what was going on over there. It was pretty cool to see. You can be in this sport for a long, long time and still be amazed or awestruck at some of the things that you get to witness. So Larry Jackson going around the pace car. He'll rejoin the tail end of the field in the O'Neill Electric number 84. That'll put 16 cars on the lead lap. So the last restart, Marc-Antoine Cameron tried to cross over Lacroix heading down to turn number 1. What it did was create a 3-wide situation. It did not work out well for him at all. It took him a couple of laps to regroup and get back up to that second spot. So let's see what Marc-Antoine Cameron decides to try to do. On this restart, he'll restart on the outside of Kevin Lacroix once again. The always aggressive Andrew Ranger is going to be on the inside of row number 2. Alex Tagliani, they'll all be looking for room. And it is definitely go time when we restart this race. We'll be into the final 15 laps. So no time to waste for any of these competitors. As we said, aside from the first race here, Robin Buck was the winner in the rain. Every single event here at ICAR has been won either by Andrew Ranger or Kevin Lacroix. Could this be the day someone new gets to victory lane? Or does Kevin Lacroix put that beautiful blue, yellow, and white Napa paint scheme number 74 into victory lane? Alex Labbe had started to put the pressure on, but again, he's going to be back in that third row on the outside. And with a hairpin turn as the first corner, it really, I mean, it's a great opportunity to have this restart be that close to the lead. But on the outside, a hairpin turn, you got a lot of ground to try to make up. Here these cars accelerate through the corner. I almost wonder if, I believe we have taken the 1 to go, so they're catching up to get double file to close in and pack things up behind the pace car. Indeed, the lights are out. Kevin Lacroix on track left. I like to call it the inside. It's the inside for the restart, the inside for turn number 1. Marc-Antoine Cameron right beside in that 96 machine, and then look at these competitors behind, chomping at the bit. Lacroix slowly down through the S's, waiting until it's time to launch onto that gas pedal. He's only on it for a short time before you get down to the hairpin turn number 1. Cameron again. Here goes Andrew Ranger. My goodness. Sends it down into turn number 1. New race leader is Andrew Ranger. Dumoulin alongside Kevin Lacroix. He's going to drive it deep down into turn 2. They'll be side by side with Cameron working towards the hairpin turn 3. Kevin Lacroix. Holy moly, where did that move come from for Andrew Ranger? As Lacroix gets into turn number 3 better than Ranger, but he did not get into turn 1. Sheer determination by Ranger as now Lacroix to the inside. It was a short-lived opportunity for Ranger, but man, oh man, was it impressive. Does he have another deep run into turn 1, or is there possibly a problem with the Ranger 27? The left rear looks a little strange on that 27 of Ranger. I think it's just body damage, but Alex Gannett starting to flex his muscle. He's on the wrong side of LP Dumoulin down into turn 3. Instead of trying to run beside Dumoulin through the 3rd turn, he got back in line to try to make a run, in turn 2, to make a run down to turn 3 as Cameron again. Not a fantastic restart for Cameron, but how do you compete with what Andrew Ranger did there? Cameron again has to fight his way back up to the 2nd position, and now let's see if he's got anything. With 12 laps to go this time at the line, does he have anything to try to close in on Kevin Lacroix with? He was racing that lap with Andrew Ranger. We'll have a look at the lap time next time he goes by. I don't think this lap time is really going to give us much indication. Cameron is definitely faster than Andrew Ranger in the 27. He puts some daylight between him, but is he closing in on the 74 of Kevin Lacroix? Trouble! Justin Arsenault in the 03 goes around. These cars are hard to start when they're that hot. Look at the black smoke coming out of the engine compartment of the 03. Oh, I guess it did look like it was coming out of the engine compartment. Arsenault gets that car running. Loses a lot of track position. Kevin Lacroix turned to 46.869. Marc-Antoine Cameron to 46.9. So Lacroix is the fastest car on the racetrack, and he is out in front. That's not good. Whoa, Tagliani! With Alex LeBay, they come off of that corner making contact. We talked about the respect being shown by these drivers to their competitors who are running in the points. That has to go both ways. Race car drivers are red-blooded creatures. You run one into the wall, and he will reciprocate. Man, oh man, off of turn number 2. And then there's a lot of room off the exit of turn number 2, but there's still that Armco barrier. Tagliani came up off the corner, made some contact there with Alex LeBay, and Alex LeBay got squeezed up into the wall. They have dropped back a distance from this battle. Andrew Ranger, LP Dumoulin, Alex Gannett. So LeBay's got to get up on the wheel. Just over 10 laps to go here in the General Tire 125. It's been an entertaining race. We've had leaders get out and not really have many battles, but there has always been a pack to watch. There's always been something to play with that we can enjoy, and Alex LeBay and Alex Gannett working through the field was one of those things for sure. And the day's not done. Alex Gannett would love to get up there and get on the podium. Trouble is, he's got multi-time champion Andrew Ranger and multi-time champion LP Dumoulin between himself and the 3rd place spot on today's podium. Nobody able to get an advantage. If there's one thing Andrew Ranger is very good at, is driving deep into the corners in these NASCAR Pinty Series cars. He always has been, so it's going to be challenging for LP Dumoulin to find a spot where he can make that move, but the old stock car adage, 8 tires turns better than 4, so if he can drive it deep into one of these tight corners, lean on the 27 of Andrew Ranger. It's not exactly LP Dumoulin's style. But at this point in the season, everybody needs points. Every position matters, and today's not great considering Marc-Antoine Cameron is out in front of all of his chasers with the exception of Kevin Lacroix. For Cameron, a second place run would be a great outing for the points. I know that's not how the driver works. It's not the mindset they have when you strap a helmet on. Second place is a frustrating event for most race car drivers because you're that close to victory but not able to get it done. We see Alex Labbé closing in on Alex Guenette, LP Dumoulin, Andrew Ranger. It's going to be a four-car battle for the third spot. Sometimes at this point in the race, the harder you drive a car, the less performance you get. These General tires are screaming out there. They've been performing for 62 laps. The brake pads, the brake rotors are hot. Guenette able to get into the corner in that 39, get through the turns, but just not getting off the exit as well as the 27 of Andrew Ranger or the 47 of LP Dumoulin. But look at him go through the turn. He gets a great run entering the corners and through the corners, and then you'll see Dumoulin pull away just a little bit. It'll be the same thing probably down here in 1 and 2. Guenette gets right up on the back end. No, he cut a great corner there. Still Dumoulin with a bit better pull coming off. But Dumoulin lost ground that lap to Andrew Ranger, makes it back up towards turn number 2. My goodness, what a topsy-turvy lap we see among those four drivers. Everyone is faster in a different part of the racetrack. Marc-Antoine Cameron basically mirroring the lap times of Kevin Lacroix. So one mistake and Cameron will be able to close right in and battle for the lead. But right now, Kevin Lacroix is looking good. Alex Guenette to the inside of LP Dumoulin. He'll take over the fourth spot. Dumoulin wants to keep the nose of that 47 there, but couldn't keep it. Guenette takes that position with 6 laps to go. Now Alex Labbé up the inside of LP Dumoulin. They make contact in turn number 1. We'll see how much Dumoulin appreciates that as they go down into turn 2. Labbé will get away and make sure he drives it as deep as he can into the third turn to avoid getting run into by Dumoulin. Wasn't serious contact, but just like we said, 8 tires turn better than 4. Now Alex Guenette has the podium in sight. Andrew Ranger has the third position. Guenette would love to get it. Of course, his rear view mirror is filled with a 07 of Alex Labbé. Mentioned it earlier, Labbé finished 8th last night at Daytona Speedway. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, there goes Guenette again, running a higher line through turn 1 than anybody else we've seen today, but he's keeping pace. We can't question it because it's working. Marc-Antoine Cameron just turned a lap a 1/10 of a second quicker than Kevin Lacroix, so he's closing the gap, but is it too little, too late? He needs to knock off 3 to 4/10 a lap because Kevin Lacroix built up such an impressive lead in this short run since the restart. Alex Guenette right up on the back bumper of Andrew Ranger. Alex Labbé is closed in as well. LP Dumoulin has fallen back a few car lengths in the 47, but you never know. When cars get battling ahead, LP Dumoulin could quickly get up into the situation there with his 47 machine. Off of turn number 2, down to the hairpin in turn 3. Guenette gonna look to the inside of Ranger. Drives it deep down into turn 3. Ranger trying to cross him over. Beautiful crossover move by Andrew Ranger as Guenette drove it down into 3 so hard Ranger anticipated he would not be able to keep it down the track. Crossed him back over, but this is going to be a tough one to defend for Andrew Ranger as they close in on the slower car, Wallace Stacy. 3 wide, they go through the S's. Alex Labbé to the inside of Ranger down into turn number 1. Oh man, did Labbé ever cut a nice corner there. He takes on the 4th spot from Ranger He'll try to close in on Alex Gannett in third. LP Dumoulin, he's more interested in the 27 Ranger, as Ranger is another points competitor. The problem for this exchange for Andrew Ranger is, even though LeBay and Gannett are not in the points, their positions still count in this race. So Ranger is now 3 spots back of the driver he's battling in points, and the 2 of the drivers ahead of him couldn't care less about points. They just want good results. But frustrating for Andrew Ranger to have those markers between himself and Kevin Lacroix and Marc-Antoine Camerant. 2 laps to go. Things are winding down here in the General Tire 125 from Circuit ICAR. Marc-Antoine Camerant trying to close the gap on Kevin Lacroix, but he is losing out. He is now 2 seconds back from the race leader. It would take some sort of catastrophe for Lacroix. We've seen just about everything happen over the years with the NASCAR Pinty series, but Camerant not in a position to contend. Alex Gannett in the 3rd spot. He's got about 3 car lengths over Alex LeBay in the 07. Andrew Ranger holding off LP Dumoulin for the time being. Alex Tagliani close but no cigar with 1 lap to go. But as I say that, Tagliani making his presence felt. I believe he overshot turn number 1, slides up the racetrack. Kevin Lacroix, forget about hitting your marks. Back your marks up about 5 car lengths. Don't overstress the race car. Just a few more turns and Kevin Lacroix will be the winner of the General Tire 125. Alex Tagliani right up on the back of that pack right now as we look at Kevin Lacroix trying to get to victory lane with his beautiful paint scheme. The driver from Saint-Eustache, Quebec. He sees the checkered flag in his sights now. The General Tire 125 to Kevin Lacroix. Marc-Antoine Camerant going to come home 2nd. Who's it going to be in 3rd? It's Gannett with Alex LeBay 4th. Andrew Ranger 5th. And Kevin Lacroix is wasting no time with the victory donuts. He is going to celebrate this one, and that is going to do it for us. We'll give you a rundown of the top 10. Andrew Ranger completed the top 5. 6th through 10th, it was LP Dumoulin, Alex Tagliani, Trayton Lapsevich, Brandon Watson, and Dexter Stacy. What a show here at Circuit ICAR. Up next, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park next weekend. That'll be race number 12 of the 13-race schedule. For everyone here with the NASCAR Pinty Series, I'm Adam Ross signing off from Mirabel, Quebec and Circuit ICAR.